Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and continuing on with the Western Movie Week. Well, as I teased, another comedy Western, and this one being done by good old Seth MacFarlane. That's right, guys. I am finally reviewing this one comedy Western from Universal Pictures and from the genius mind of Seth MacFarlane, and seeing as how it's celebrating its anniversary. That's right, guys. From 2014, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yes, A Million Ways to Die in the West. And yep, you read the title some more. I'm not doing it alone, and seeing as how he's been joining me for a lot of Seth MacFarlane stuff, like when it comes to reviewing something Family Guy, and also Ted, joining me reviewing A Million Ways to Die in the West is one of my good friends, Anchorman. It's good to have you for this one.
Hello there, and thank you for having me.
Anytime, my pleasure. Yeah, so A Million Ways to Die in the West, because obviously that goes for both me and Anchorman, and for any of you guys who, some of you that probably have seen this movie before, just any of you. I think for a lot of us, because when this came out, well, most of us were not allowed to watch this, trying to see it in theaters or when it came out on digital, DVD, Blu-ray, and such. But later on, as most of us got older, yeah, we did eventually watched it. And for me, because I'm glad that I've finally watched this. And seeing as how this was the second theatrical movie for Seth MacFarlane, because I'm pretty sure calling it the Seth MacFarlane movie trilogy, because, there's the first Ted film, there's this, A Million Ways to Die in the West, and Ted 2. So, yeah. Because now that I finally have seen it, again, I'm glad that I finally watched it. I got some good laughs and chuckles, and, and another thing is because I have my DVD/Blu-ray copy, and you saw it in the thumbnail, because I watched, because I knew me and Anchorman were going to review this, and for this being a part of Western Movie Week, I watched the theatrical version, and then I watched the unrated version. So I watched both of them, and which being on the Blu-rays of this movie. Because watching both versions of A Million Ways to Die in the West, because of course I can tell, what's in the unrated and did not make it in the theatrical and such, and honestly, looking at the unrated version, there's some stuff that, I don't know, it doesn't seem that bad, but overall, because, and basically, the unrated version is basically the director's cut, but yeah. But the unrated version with extra stuff was still pretty good, including some cameos that were cut from the theatrical version. But yeah, just overall, I did enjoy A Million Ways to Die in the West, and I'm glad that I've gotten to see this, and, because I think that this movie gets it right, because as Seth MacFarlane explained, because I watched some of the behind the scenes, because, most of the Western films, especially, the classic Western films, they were lighthearted and stuff like that, but in reality, the Western was the Wild West was a terrible time, because, yeah, and I think this movie definitely shows and addresses, because of, the old days, and, in the 19th century, yeah, because of the Wild West and so on, terrible times and so on. But yeah, just overall, I enjoyed A Million Ways to Die in the West. So we'll now come to you, Anchorman. What are the first things you have to say about A Million Ways to Die in the West?
I think it's an underrated comedy that Seth MacFarlane did, and I like how he wanted to make his own movie about the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a pretty funny movie, and I like how he brought on some of the, I guess you could say, some of the Ted actors, and then would later use them in Ted 2.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, some of them. Some of the actors who were in A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yeah, some of them would make their way into Seth's next movie project, which coming out a year after this, which of course being Ted 2, most notably Amanda Seyfried. So
They also did like a Super Bowl commercial of the movie, and it had Ted make a cameo in the tray in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was both Seth and Ted, and you know, because I think I might have seen that. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because pretty funny, and because like, and could you imagine? Because like, you know, it would have. I think it especially would have been up to Seth. Like, and I think especially like the best place for Ted to appear in A Million Ways to Die in the West would of course be that drug adventure that Seth's character takes. Like, what do you think on that?
I think that'd be interesting, seeing Ted in a Wild West movie.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a cowboy Ted.
But it would, if Ted were to have appeared in A Million Ways to Die in the West, it would be that like sequence where, you know, Seth's character like having like a drug adventure and so on.
I think that was supposed to be a plot for Ted 2, but they changed it.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, and anything else you've got to say? Like, you know, the first things you have to say on the film?
I don't know why this movie gets a lot of hate, and I think it's I think this movie holds up, and it's funny, and I don't know why this movie got some Razzie Awards, but I don't know. I guess people just didn't like it for some reason. But now it has like this cult following.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does seem like it. Yeah, and when was the first time you watched the film?
I think I rented it at the library, and I thought, oh, Seth MacFarlane did this movie, so let's watch it. And then I finally watched the unrated version, on Blu-ray recently.
Okay, good. All right, so there's that. Okay, so as always, read the description / the story. Mild-mannered sheep farmer Albert Stark feels certain that the western frontier is trying to kill him. Then he loses his girlfriend, Louise, to the town's most successful businessman. However, a beautiful pistol-packing woman named Anna rides into town and helps Albert find his inner courage. Then Stark must put his newfound bravery to the test when Anna's outlaw husband arrives with plans to plant him in an unmarked grave. Okay, so with that out of the way, and little background, and then, you know, get into the film itself, because when Seth and his co-writing buddies of the first Ted film, like when the script for the first Ted film was being polished, Seth and his co-writing buddies talked about an idea of potentially doing a Western film and, you know, watching some of the classic Westerns. And as I stated, because, you know, most of the Western films, especially back in that era, in that era of cinema when Westerns were just everywhere, and, you know, most notably because you had John Wayne, and then a little bit later you had Clint Eastwood. Well, because most of them, like, you know, family-friendly and such, but still, like, some Western films, like, later on, where they just be, like, have some gruesome stuff and drama and so on. But yeah, because in reality, because the Wild Wild West, not a good time, and just, like, kind of miserable and so on. And again, because what this movie delivers, just, yeah, spot on. Yeah, so, obviously, like, when Ted was officially done, well, it didn't take Seth and his co-writing buddies of the first Ted film to get underway with, you know, developments for a Western, and also because, well, around the time when Seth was hosting the Oscars, because I think they were building the sets and so on, but yeah, so by 2014, because yeah, we did eventually get a Western from Seth MacFarlane, and after that, because, well, Seth would find himself doing another movie a year after doing this, which of course being Ted 2. But yeah, so getting into the film itself, yeah, because our main character, of course, Albert Stark, being played by Seth MacFarlane. He is also the writer and director of this, and because he was in the middle of a draw, standoff and such, but like he technically chickened out, but he just wanted to make peace with the guy and promised that he would give him the money that this cowboy guy needed and so on, and by selling some sheep and etc. And but still Albert getting shot by the leg, and with the unrated cut, because Dr. Harbour makes a lot of appearances in the unrated cut, and Dr. Harbour being played by Jay Patterson, and it's just funny and also because of the gruesome stuff and what goes on in that hospital and with Dr. Harbour, but also at one point, because Albert and his girlfriend Louise, being played by Amanda Seyfried, I think I'm getting her last name right, I hope so, having a little picnic, and Louise is just not happy, and she basically breaks the news to Albert that, she's breaking up with him, and just really because of what's been going on with Albert, and not making a huge success of being a sheep farmer and so on, and she's been thinking about this for quite a while. So yeah, it's sad that they broke up and so on. And then at one point, because we see Edward, being played by Giovanni Ribisi, if I'm even saying his full name right. Yeah, he plays Edward, and his girlfriend, Ruth, being played by Sarah Silverman, and because basically, and I don't think Edward doesn't seem to have a problem with this, but Ruth is basically a hooker and does this for a living, having sex with cowboys and so on. But for Edward, he doesn't seem to really have a problem with it. Also, because in one of the bars, we get an appearance of Alex Borstein. Yeah, I think I'm getting her last name right. AKA the voice of Lois Griffin. She plays Millie, running the bar. And, because, and for Albert, because, what's he gonna do now? Because he's completely, just heart shattered because of what happened. And also, again, because he's a sheep farmer and taking care of sheep, and Albert's parents, because his father being George Stark, being played by Christopher Hagen, and just the parents, and most notably his father, just not very good parents, and just how George treats his son. I mean, nothing abusive and violent or anyway, just being harsh on him with just words. But yeah, okay, but we'll now come to you, Anchorman, because what are the first things you have to say and where I've come up to so far?
The gun scene or something. I thought that was a funny scene. His breakup with his girl, I thought that was an early start to his character. He starts at an all-time low, and then later in the movie he's at an all-time high. Mm-hmm.
And anything to say because of the other characters I mentioned, because you Edward and Ruth?
The parents?
Well, no, because Edward and Ruth, those are don't you remember, those are Albert's friends, and Ruth being the one, okay. And Ruth being the one that's the hooker.
Oh yeah, isn't that I don't know, that's the guy who Donnie from Ted, is the actor who played him, isn't?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
but
I like his character.
Yeah, but do you have anything to say on them? Edward and Ruth.
I feel like their subplot in the movie is it was interesting. It was funny.
Interesting, yeah, that's the best way to describe. Yeah, because it is interesting and what goes on with them. And like I said, because Edward, he has no problem, and the fact is both of them are Christians and such. Yeah. And at least Edward understands that it's just Ruth's job, just being a hooker and so on. But anyways, so at one point, because one evening, like later that evening, because they're in town. And by the way, because about the town, because being called Old Stump, and almost forgot to mention, because the time setting of this movie and when it takes place it's in 1882. So yeah, and the town that's the main focus and staple of this movie, Old Stump, because basically before the town was built, there was this big tree, and they chopped it off, and they couldn't remove the stump, so hence the town being called Old Stump, named after that tree stump that they could never get out. But yeah, so in the old Stump town, and in one of the bars, because Albert talking to Edward and Ruth, because he at one point was considering suicide, and then he goes on telling them about a million ways to die in the West and what happens in the West, and like there's numerous possibilities and such, where how you could die in the Wild West, like from your own gas, fart and such, or say just I guess from eating or going to the bathroom, and Albert even saying that he always prepares himself and such when he goes to the bathroom, if he's gonna die in the bathroom, even pointing out that because just bodies being left there on the ground, and points out the body of the mayor, and at one point wolves come in and take the mayor's body. Even at one point he was because Ruth talked with Albert, talk with Louise, and especially this is after Albert got drunk, and he did so because he went to Louise's house trying to talk with her, but it didn't go so well, and because it really didn't help, because he got drunk, and a bit of drunk talk from poor Albert. And then we come to one part where we see this old prospector being played by Matt Clark, and he comes face to face with, and it's obvious if you couldn't tell already, bad guys, mean cowboys, and the main evil cowboy, and obviously the leader of the rest of the rustlers, Clinch, and Clinch being played by good old Liam Neeson. And Liam Neeson, because he, I think especially maybe after doing A Million Ways to Die in the West, he would do a couple of other materials that would be done by Seth MacFarlane, because he would make a funny cameo in Ted 2, and he would make a guest appearance in one episode of season 1 of The Orville. So Liam Neeson is Clinch. It's Liam Neeson. What more do I have to say? He's really good at this, especially if he plays a bad guy. I mean, take for example, on the side of voice acting, because he voiced Bad Cop. I mean, Bad Cop started off being a bad cop, but of course, later on, Bad Cop was redeemed. So there's your example. And we also have Anna being played by Charlize Theron, Charlize Theron, if I'm getting that right, who, I actually didn't know this until when I watched the movie, that Anna is the wife of Clinch, and, Anna, because clearly, and if you could or could not tell, because she's not unhappy being married to Clinch, and Clinch not even sparing the prospector when, pointing the gun at him and asking the prospector for a piece of gold, which the prospector had, and even he told the prospector to whip out his gun, and there'll be a shoot-off, and didn't take too long for Clinch to not spare the prospector, and and then, because, and to put it this, because Clinch and his men, they're going after gold and such, and even telling some of his men to split up and, look for gold. And some of some of Clinch's men, there's Lewis being played by Evan Jones, and there's, I think, Ben being played by Aaron McPherson, if I'm saying that right. So he has Anna and Lewis go to Old Stump, and even Anna basically took in the prospector's dog, Plugger. That's the name of the dog, Plugger. And how did she even know already that the dog's name was Plugger? Because she wasn't there when we can see that, well, there's one moment where the old prospector names his dog Plugger, but I guess maybe she technically did here, but anyways. So she takes in Plugger, and, Plugger, like, he just immediately tags along with Anna. I mean, because we can see that Plugger was checking on his owner, and, yeah, but clearly, and as we see throughout the rest of the film, Plugger is in good hands with Anna. But, okay, now coming back to you, Anchorman, because where we're up to, and with, Clinch and Anna, the bad guys and such, like, what do you have to say this time?
I really like Liam Neeson in this movie. I kind of wish he was in the movie a lot more, but I think they do him well in this movie. But
yeah, and I was...
he's a good setup villain.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, because you mentioned that, because I was thinking of mentioning that, because when watching this movie, like, well, Liam Neeson, being in the posters and advertisements and such, like, he's right there in the posters and everything, but the thing is, yeah, you're right, because Liam Neeson he's not in this movie that much. I mean, like, there's the exception... With the exception of the unrated cut, we did get a bit more of Clinch because, yeah, and talking more about what was in the unrated cut, because there's one moment where, well, Clinch and his men hijacking, well, basically has a coach held hostage, with a husband, wife, and son, and, two guys, controlling the coach, going after gold, and they succeed on doing so, and they don't spare those two coachmen. So, yeah, there's that. By the way, because I recognize one of them, because, those that were in the unrated cut, well, they're uncredited. She's credited as the female passenger, and that was Challen Cates. Yeah, I think I got her first name right. I recognize her as the mother from Big Time Rush. Yeah, that's her. So, so there's that on Clinch and what's in the unrated cut. But okay, and coming back to you again, Anchorman, because anything you've got to say on the character of Anna?
I like her relationship with Albert in this movie. I feel like it's like a highlight the movie for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, Anchorman, but Charlize Theron had to wear a wig because her head was completely shaved off because, her being in the movie Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, I didn't know. No.
Yeah, so she had to wear a blonde wig for, her role in A Million Ways to Die in the West. And honestly, because, wigs for movies, they're pretty good. And honestly, I couldn't even tell, and I never even thought of it, because when watching the movie, and just, because basically, yeah, Charlize Theron's actual hair color is blonde, and yeah, the wig looked pretty good, and it didn't even look like, because, you couldn't even tell, but anyways. So, again, Anna and Lewis, traveling to Old Stump, and coming back to Old Stump because, and to speed things up, because things didn't go so well for Albert, because, well, still, again, he got drunk and, trying to talk with Anna, and apparently because it had been a couple of days, and Edward hadn't heard from Albert, and Edward visiting Albert, and, and still, the moments with Albert's parents, most notably the dad, just, oh my gosh. And there's, one moment where, we can hear his father, George, talking about, because, when taking a crap and such, and, jeez. And Edward suggests to Albert that he's got to start seeing other people, and this being in the unrated cut, because, some scenes where, yeah, Albert is trying to hook up with a girl and such, and one of them being a cameo of Kaylee Cuoco, because, yeah, Kaylee Cuoco in the unrated cut, and then there's one moment where Albert is trying to talk with an Asian woman, and, well, this did happen in reality back in those days, because Albert having dinner with this, I think, 9-year-old girl or something, because you gotta remember, guys, back in those days, years ago, because, there used to it had happened where, you know, young little girls would be married off and such at a very young age and so on. So, and it's nice to see that. I can tell when watching the unrated cut, like, Albert, he's uncomfortable with this. Like, yeah, he just, like, he knows that this is wrong and so on. I think even, like, the little girl was, I guess, offended or something, because, you know, when the waiter asks Albert, like, you know, about his girlfriend and saying, oh, no, this is not my girlfriend, and just... Anyways, so yeah, just, and then at one point, because, you know, Albert is hooking up with this one chick who's very aggressive and just, you know, very aggressive when making out, like slapping him and so on. And this being in the unrated cut too, because it wasn't in the theatrical release, and I don't know why they chose to remove this, because at one point, Albert receives, you know, sad news from his father that, well, Albert's mother had died, and we have a funeral sequence, and yeah, so Albert's mother has sadly passed away. Even, like, when Albert's mother is mentioned one more time very later on in the film, but anyways, so, yeah, and also, the fair is coming up very soon, and also, Albert and Edward, they notice that, well, Anna is already with someone else, and the fact that, you know, she, according to Albert and Anna, because she wasn't ready to be with someone that quick, but didn't take her that long to be with someone, and that being Foy, you know, a successful businessman, and, like, in the... like, mustache business or whatever, and Foy being played by good old Neil Patrick Harris. And Neil Patrick Harris, well, it's Neil Patrick Harris. He never disappoints, and he's always funny, and him playing this jerk and how he treats Albert, pretty funny, and Albert being jealous, and he's, I feel like, a couple of times considering growing a mustache, but yeah. Okay, but coming back to you, Anchorman, because where I'm up to now, and what do you have to say now?
The stuff in the unrated version, like you mentioned, I did notice that stuff when I watched it on the Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's... I wonder why they cut the mom's death? Or, like, was she in the movie, or, like...
Yeah,
just, like,
yeah, she was in the movie.
Like, before she died?
Yes, she was.
I guess they cut her scenes out a lot.
Well, no, actually, no, not really. They just cut out the one part where, yeah, she sadly dies, and, you know, her funeral happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all they cut out. And what are the first things you have to say on the character of Foy?
He's a jerk, and his mustache is iconic.
Oh yeah, I mean, that kind of mustache, and especially like in the 1800s, 19th century, just, yeah, and how he keeps his mustache, like, you know, rich looking and stuff like that, and yeah, even like even Albert, like, at one point saying that he can't afford to grow a mustache, and especially have it be that fancy looking and stylish and so on. But yeah, and because Albert just kind of doing a stupid move where he comes into the shop that Foy works in, and just, you know, interacting with Foy, and, you know, saying to Foy that, you know, he's considering to grow a mustache, like, from here, from his face up to, like, his sideburns, his hair, and so on. And yeah, and Foy pointing out to Albert that's expensive and stuff like that. And Albert just going off on Foy because of stealing someone's girlfriend. Of course, Albert is referring to himself and with Louise, and yeah, again, because as you point out, Anchorman, because him being a complete jerk, especially towards Albert, yeah. And then, well, because after that, and still to speed things up, and still, those moments where we can, of course we don't see it on screen, but we can hear it, and with the dialogue, because, you know, Ruth, you know, still banging on the cowboys because that's her job as a hooker and such, and then Albert, you know, he comes to Edward and Ruth one evening because, well, he's considering moving to San Francisco, because after what happened, and, well, with Louise being with Foy, that draws the line for him. Like, yeah, he's done. He's getting, pardon my French, he's getting the hell out of Old Stump, basically. And again, moving to San Francisco. And, like, one moment where Edward, like, gives Albert his handkerchief, and because it was sticky, and Albert trying to fling it off him, and, you know, two guys, like, you know, like, waving at Albert with their handkerchiefs, and one of them, you know, that was waving at him, because I recognize him. Oh, he's got, like, where is he? Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah, Dandy. They're credited as Dandy 1 and Dandy 2. Both Dandies being played by John Michael Higgins and Julius Sharp. Oh, yeah, and yeah, they did a couple of they've been in other Seth MacFarlane materials. Like, I can see on Julius Sharp's IMDb profile, because it's a stilled shot of him from an episode of The Orville. So, yeah, so he was in The Orville, Julius Sharp. But anyway, so them making an appearance and just waving their dandy handkerchiefs at Albert, because, again, like, he was just trying to fling it off, because a little, like, spot on Ruth's face that, you know, Edward wiped off, I think you get the idea of what it is. But anyways, moving on. And then at one point, well, because Anna and Lewis, and I think because they're playing the parts of brother and sister, and at one point, things get out of hand, especially from Lewis, because technically he starts this bar fight, this brawl and such, and just, like, for no reason, because when, like, he shoots the one cowboy, yeah, then just all hell breaks loose for no reason. All the other cowboys and some of the ladies, they start brawling and fighting and so on. And Albert and Edward taking their position, pretending to fight like this, and even Edward accidentally hit Albert. And to speed things up, because, well, Albert spotted Anna was this close to being hit by these two cowboys up on the second floor. They were going to land on her. He saved her, and yeah, so that's when they first meet, Albert and Anna, and yeah, so, and it doesn't take too long for them to hit things off and such, and yeah, so they have a nice conversation, and as I mentioned, yeah, because Albert talking about the name of the town and pointing out the old stump, you know, because how the town got its name, Old Stump, because of this big stump where a tree was cut down, as I explained, and yeah, and Plugger, you know, still with Anna, because Anna throwing a stick at Plugger, you know, fetch. But then at one point, Plugger came back with a human foot, and basically, according to Albert, that was the mayor's foot. So, part of his leg and foot. Then, because they're up on, like, a hill or something, they get a nice view of the Old Stump town, and Albert just going on to Anna about his ex-girlfriend, Louise, and, you know, saying that, you know, she allowed him to make her happy or something like that, and Anna just setting Albert straight that he's part of what he's saying, he's got it upside down and such, and yeah, and Anna giving good advice and talk to Albert. And then at one point they have to stay still because of a diamond black snake. Even, like, also, like, trying to light up a cigar, and, well, it was Albert's first cigar, but yeah. And Anna willing to tag along with Albert to the fair, and, you know, he lets her do so. And to mess with, and also basically to put up this mess with Louise that, yeah, Albert's got a new girlfriend and so on. And, you know, it was nice of Louise when Albert tried to talk with her, but he was drunk. She did say that, you know, there can be anybody else that's right for him. You know, that part. Like, okay, that seemed nice from what Louise said to him, but yeah. Okay, but we'll come back to you, Anchorman, because where we're up to and what I've so far said. Yeah, because what do you have to say?
I think it was a funny scene where, like, the dog grabbed the mayor's foot. I thought that was gruesome, but it was funny.
Yeah, and that fight in the bar. Anything on that?
Yeah, it was nice. it's like what you always see in like westerns, where all the one little move can cause everyone to fight
for no reason. For no reason.
Kind of like the cantina in Star Wars.
Yeah, again, for no reason, everybody else joins in the fight and just,
Yes.
fighting with one another, basically. Yeah. And, and I almost forgot to point this out, because this being in the trailers and so on, because like a funny and gruesome moment where, because of what's going to be at the fair, because even like, Albert pointed this out to Anna, and also I think Louise as well, because at the fair, like, there's going to be this like big huge block of ice, and Albert and Edward, they can see that the big block of ice has arrived, but something goes wrong, like one of the ropes becomes loose, and basically it smashes and like squashes someone's head. Do you have anything to say on that? Because with the big block of ice,
I thought it was funny. It was a graphic scene, but like, it was funny. Like, I like how they dropped it and then it immediately crushed the person, and then and then like Albert like screams. I'm pretty sure
Albert and Edward, their reaction, like what makes it funny, especially, is Albert and Edward, their reactions. It makes it hilarious. And because, and as you point out, because Albert and how Seth MacFarlane like screams and just, oh my god, and whether if he's voicing his characters, like most notably Brian Griffin, because he's using his natural voice for the voice role of Brian, so okay, but continuing on, and to speed things up, because with the fair finally happening, and because Albert and Anna meeting up at the fair, and even Albert pointing out to Anna that people dying in the fair, and like we see, because at one moment this couple getting their picture taken, and by the way, very quickly, because another thing that's pointed out a good chunk of times in this movie, and obviously, because this is what happened in reality, because back then, nobody smiled when taking their pictures. Even because, like, some of the characters from Albert and Edward pointing out that would just be silly if someone smiled. I mean, nowadays, no, it's not. Just, but back then, so who can blame them? Again, a couple getting their picture taken, but then, because the photographer catches fire, and because back then with those cameras and sparks would flash and stuff like that, so he catches fire, and then it causes the couple to catch fire as well, and because they're on fire, two gunmen take down the couple, so there you go, because that's what happens sometimes at the fair, people dying in the fair. And then at one point, because they meet up with, they come towards Foy and Louise, and because once again, because Foy just being a complete jerk to Albert, even because insulting him because he's a sheep farmer, and sometimes talking and bleeding, just and they're challenged to a gun duel, because firing guns, and Anna shooting for Albert. If she wins, then Foy owes Albert $1, but if she loses, I think the same goes for Albert the other way around, and the crowd just shocked and surprised, $1. It just because $1 is rare, and because for Anna, she successfully shoots the targets, and, Foy owes Albert $1, and with the dollar being whipped out, because everybody taking their hats off, and it's funny. By the way, because one of the citizens, at the fair, making a cameo, because Foy or Albert, one of them, because questioning and asking, what are you laughing at and such? We get a cameo of Ewan McGregor, because Ewan McGregor makes a cameo in this. He's credited as Cowboy at Fair. Shouldn't there be a the? Because Cowboy at the Fair. That sounds about right. But that's IMDb for you sometimes. And some of the other characters that are in this, because at times when we would be at the church, because there's Pastor Wilson being played by John Aylward, if I'm saying that right. And there's also, Snake Oil Salesman being played by Dennis Haskins. And there's Marcus Thornton being played by Amick Byram. And there's Vendor being played by Mike Miller. And there's Cowboy Artie being played by Artie Brent Carlson. And Guy at Fair, that's all he's credited as, being played by Alex Sulkin. And, but continuing on, and then what happens is, Albert and Foy find themselves in a gunfight, like gun duel and such, and, Foy telling him that, they'll do it tomorrow and such, but, basically, and with the help of Anna, they'll do it a week from today. So that's what happens, and it's official. A week from today, they will, find themselves out in town and a gun duel and such. Yeah, so that's what happens. Okay, and coming back to you, Anchorman, because what else have you got to say and where I'm up to now?
I like the Ewan McGregor cameo. I didn't really realize he was in the movie.
Oh, you didn't?
It was cool. Yeah, I didn't really remember that small cameo.
Oh, I guess probably because, and that getup he was in, and with that mustache and such.
I always know him as Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and even though, I'm trying to remember, because I think this was the second time, because obviously they didn't share any screen time and such, they weren't on screen together, but I believe that this was the second time that Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson were in something together, so, because...
Oh yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, being in a Western, even though they don't share any screen time, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay,
it's like a reunion.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Well, I'll tell you this, because the biggest reunion for them as well, because when they returned as their respectful roles of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn at the very last scene in the very last episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, true.
That was their reunion, on screen. So yeah, so they shared a screen, they shared something, they shared a moment and such. You get my point. So that's when, because they officially had a reunion in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. All right, but anyway, so continuing on, because also, because of what happened at the bar, this got Lewis into jail, and Anna confronting what Lewis had started, and then just each of them going on towards each other, and mentioning of Clinch and when he gets into town and such. So again, Lewis being in jail, and to speed things up still, because because 1 week from today, the gun duel will happen, the match and such between Albert and Foy. Albert at first not being so good at target shooting, shooting from a gun and such, target, aim, and so on. So it's up to Anna to teach Albert, and throughout the whole week, I guess you could say, because Anna teaching Albert, and with a little bit of a montage, up until Albert seems to have got it, when he finally, targets, target practice and such, he finally gets it. And, when he did finally get it, because this was at his and his family's ranch, home and such, and when he shot the gun at, target practice, Albert's father coming out and shooting off a gun, and, no more friends, Albert! And then there's, a moment where Anna offers Albert this cookie. Do you remember, because what the cookie is called specifically?
I'm not sure. Is it a big cookie or something?
Oh, what now? Wait a minute. Pot cookie. Now I remember. Basically, because Albert is concerned, because, pretty much because, this being a pot cookie, it'll have, drugs or something. And, he did take it, and I think he took a big bite. And later that day, and when the sun is setting, because Albert he's completely out because of what that pot cookie did to him, and Anna just having a good time, and she's cracking up, and even a prairie dog popping up, and Albert is worried about the prairie dog because he knows what we're doing, and just it's pretty funny. And yeah, still to speed things up, because yeah, when the party happens, because the sequence where a party is happening, and Albert and Anna, they attend this party, and well, obviously, because Foy and Louise are also there too, and another cameo we get in this, and actually, yeah, because he's one of Seth MacFarlane's good friends, because he makes an uncredited appearance in this. Yeah, Bill Maher. Yeah, I think I got his last name right. He plays the barn dance comedian. Yeah, so him being a comedian, and, well, Bill Maher, because, yeah, he was funny in this. So, and whenever he had done anything else with Seth MacFarlane, like, most notably, in one episode where Brian Griffin is on Bill Maher's show. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Because Brian had published a book, and just things get out of hand when he's on Bill's show. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So yeah, again, his cameo appearance as the barn dance comedian. And, well, once again, because, Albert and Anna coming face to face with Louise and Foy, and then, well, a song number happens, and with everybody dancing, a mustache, like, yeah, that was funny. Like, okay, and coming back to you, because anything you've got to say where I'm up to, and with that party sequence, and with the song number, and so on?
I really like that song, If You Only Got a Mustache. That song is, like, super catchy.
It is, yeah.
The way they dance.
Mm-hmm. What was the name of the song again of Mustache?
If You Only Got a Mustache.
Right. If You Only Got a Mustache. And yeah, you're right, because it was catchy. And yeah, usually, because song numbers, like anything that Seth MacFarlane does, like whether if it's Family Guy, even like, say, American Dad, anything that Seth MacFarlane does, and whenever there's song numbers, they're sometimes pretty good and catchy. Yeah. So yeah, that dance sequence, and with the song, if you only had a mustache, etc., and eventually, because Albert, he found himself like collapsing, and just, yeah, he couldn't take it anymore because of the dance. And then at one point, a nice move on Anna, because she puts something in a drink and offering it to Foy, and he's the one that takes the drink, and Anna just rightfully so, insulting Foy, as well as Louise, and commenting on her big eyes. Yes, it's pretty funny. They're not that big and such. Yeah, even Foy complimenting on Louise's big eyes. So, yeah. Also, more from the unrated cut, because the little girl that had dinner with Albert, because she appeared a couple more times, like she was at the fair and she was interacting with another little girl, like, isn't that the guy you had dinner with and such? And then, well, we see her at the party, and she's talking with Bill Maher's character, and because then they start going out. Jeez. But anyway, so yeah. And do you not have any comment or anything to say on Bill Maher's appearance in this?
Well, I don't think so. I'm not too familiar with him.
Well, again, because he was the barn comedian and such, Yeah. I just thought I'd ask, if you had anything.
Oh, he's like a comedian?
Well, in the movie, yeah, he is, so.
I see.
Yeah.
I think I saw the scene. It was cool.
Yeah, and as I clearly pointed out, because, he's good friends with Seth MacFarlane, and Bill did appear in an episode of Family Guy as himself, as I pointed out, but anyways.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. So, continuing on, because, a bit of a conversation between Albert and Anna, and Albert surprises Anna with a picture of some guy who actually is smiling, and Albert got that from somebody, and yeah, because Albert and Anna were talking about that as well, about, people smiling in pictures, and that would feel silly. But yeah, Albert managed to get his hands on a rare picture of a guy smiling, and yeah, she loves it. Even like one of Albert's sheep, delivered that gift to Anna, and sure enough, well, because then they go for a kiss. And even when Albert, he took Anna back to where she's staying at a hotel, I guess you can say, in Old Stump. Well, by dropping her off, and I think maybe this was in the theatrical cut as well, but because I forgot about it, and when watching the unrated cut, yeah, because she once again kisses Albert. And little did they know, Louis, because yeah, jumping back to Louis, he did escape from jail because he pretended to be taking a nap. He took down the sheriff, knocking him out, and he got out of jail. And little did Albert and Anna know, because when Albert dropped her off back at where she was staying at in the town, and she kissed him, well, little did they know that Louis was over watching. He saw that, and well, he's gonna report this and inform Clinch. So after that, because and Albert had dropped off Anna. Well, because as he rides off, there's some sparks coming from this one building, and I knew about this cameo for quite a while. Even before seeing the movie, I had seen the clip and a bit of behind the scenes of his appearance in A Million Ways to Die in the West. Because when Albert approaches this shed where there's sparks going off and such, and he opens the door and he says hello, and Christopher Lloyd making a cameo as Dr. Emmett Brown, and he's working on the DeLorean time machine, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense for this cameo to be in this movie. Well, because Back to the Future Part 3 taking place in the Wild West, so yeah, there you go. And not to mention, because a couple of fun facts. Back to the Future Part 3 is Seth MacFarlane's favorite Back to the Future film. Mine too. I mean, of course, I love the other two Back to the Future films. I love the whole trilogy, but definitely Part 3 is my personal favorite. And obviously, the same goes for Seth. And also, that DeLorean time machine that appears in A Million Ways to Die in the West, and Doc Brown working on it, that's actually Seth MacFarlane's own, own replica DeLorean time machine car, I guess you could say. Yeah, that belongs to Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, because he has a replica of the DeLorean time machine, and yeah, just like and it must have been great for Seth, like a fanboy moment, because like whom he grew up watching and seeing Christopher Lloyd in the Back to the Future films, and for Doc Brown to be in a movie of Seth's, and for Seth owning a DeLorean time machine and having it be there on set, and Christopher Lloyd working on the DeLorean time machine, you get my point. Yeah, overall, because that must have been a great moment for Seth. And when watching the behind the scenes, yeah, because, everybody just having a great time working with Christopher Lloyd, taking pictures with him, and even Seth MacFarlane allowing Christopher Lloyd to do whatever to his replica of the DeLorean time machine, because yeah, it seems fitting to let Doc Brown himself do whatever, just hammering on it and so on. I think the license plate, it did have the Out of Time on it, but overall, because yeah, that cameo of Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown was great, and well, Doc Brown noticing that Albert is, because he notices what he's doing, he covers the DeLorean time machine, and Albert asking him, what is that? And then his response, nothing, weather experiment. And just like in the Back to the Future films, because a mentioning of a weather experiment. So yeah, and Albert just, his response, oh. And then he leaves, and Doc Brown getting the last line in that scene, Great Scott! Like, of course he has to say Great Scott, because it wouldn't be the same, like, if you have Doc Brown, clearly he has to say his famous line/quote, Great Scott! Okay, but we'll come to you, Anchorman, because anything you've got to say on Christopher Lloyd's appearance/cameo as Doc Brown?
I thought the Christopher Lloyd cameo was cool, because he's really known for Back to the Future. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but it was cool seeing him.
Yep. And, well, because the reference is obvious, and seeing as how, part 3 being set entirely in the Western, I mean, have you seen all 3 of the Back to the Future films?
Yeah, but like I said, it's been a while, so I'd have to rewatch them.
Yeah. And, of course, because
Yeah,
Doc...
the third one explores the West.
Exactly, and well, because, Doc Brown, in the Western and such, and because, like, it's just a cameo. It's not canon to Back to the Future, but because the thing is, A Million Ways to Die in the West, taking place in 1882, the time and setting of Back to the Future Part 3, and when they time travel to the age of the Wild West, well, because they arrive in the year 1885. So yeah. So, and obviously, because that was the year that, well, Doc Brown, he made it to the Western, which, of course, being in 1885. So I thought I'd point that out. But anyways, so, again, Doc Brown appearing in this, Christopher Lloyd, fantastic. And again, watching the behind the scenes, that was great. And as Seth MacFarlane establishes, that Christopher Lloyd, he loves that character, and that's great to see. And I think it's obvious that, whenever, like, there's something Back to the Future, and if Doc Brown is required to appear in something, well, Christopher Lloyd, he'll be more than happy to do so. So, anyways, but continuing on, and I love it because, well, when Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown saying his famous line / quote, "Great Scott!" a little bit of the Back to the Future music is played. And then coming back to Louise and Foy, because Louise is actually concerned, and even though, she had broken up with Albert, and she sees Albert as a loser, she still cares for Albert and know that he's really not a bad guy and such, and she doesn't want to see her ex-boyfriend be killed, but Foy, he's made up his mind and he's gonna do it. And even Foy asks her to, do something, naughty and sexy, but she's too tired, but he insists, being kind of aggressive to Louise. And, because what she does is just, playing with his mustache, and this turns him on. And, at one point, his stomach is not doing so well, and that's when he has to use the outhouse, because what Anna put in Foy's drink, because something was going to happen to Foy, and sure enough, because, Foy basically having stomach problems, like having diarrhea, terrible diarrhea, doesn't seem to stop, and to speed things up, because, and also, there's a moment where, Foy and Ruth, I'm sorry, not Foy, Edward and Ruth, because Edward is talking with Ruth, like, he's considering, and he wants to have sex with Ruth, but because they're Christians, and, because, for Ruth, she wants to do it after they're married, because they're not married yet, but, again, Edward, he's really considering this and such. Also, there's one other moment which was in the unrated version of Blazing Saddles, the unrated cut, where, we got a cameo from Mae Whitman. Mae Whitman made a cameo in this, and she was where is she? Because she played the prostitute, because her character getting emotional because maybe it was her or some other prostitute, and because Ruth, her job is being hooker and prostitute kind of being the same thing, but basically one of them, and if it was Mae Whitman's character, sadly getting raped and such, because there's a moment that happens, and again, that's in the unrated cut, because, thought I'd mention it, and I think, that was the last time we see Millie, the voice of Lois Griffin. That was the last time we see her on screen. Also, a couple of other cameos that we get, like Josh Brolin made a cameo in this. Even when I watched the unrated cut, I missed him. I missed Josh Brolin, because Josh Brolin, he makes a cameo in this, and he plays the Spectator. That's how he's credited, Spectator. So Josh Brolin made an uncredited cameo in this movie. But again, I missed him. I'm gonna have to look back and see, and probably I'm gonna have to look at a still shot on Google or something of Josh Brolin's appearance. But did you happen to see Josh Brolin in the film Anchorman?
I did not see him either.
Okay, there you go. So I guess, sometimes cameos can be well hidden, or sometimes they can go by fast. Like, as it was mentioned earlier, you didn't realize and you missed that Ewan McGregor made a quick cameo. So, yeah. Well, I didn't. I knew that he was in this movie, and I instantly recognized him. So, but anyways, so continuing on, because when the shootout is about to happen, well, Anna, obviously she was going to attend, but her going to attend the shootout between Albert and Foy, that all is interrupted for her, well, when Clinch arrives in town, and, well, clearly he heard what happened with his wife. Well, and then, yeah, the gunfight is about to happen, the standoff, gun shoot down, etc. I know there's a specific name to it, but, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so yeah, it's about to happen. Albert is right there on time, but Foy, because he's a bit late, well, still, what Anna put in his drink and giving him diarrhea problems, yeah, and because, they're about to, whip out their guns. And it was funny. The marking on Foy's gun has, the symbol of a mustache. That was funny. Well, it makes sense, knowing Foy, but anyways. And Foy is unable to proceed with this, and one moment where he uses a couple of the citizens, town folks, their hats, crapping in them. God. Even there's one shot. They show it on screen. They show the diarrhea and such that was in the hat. And also, when he was trying to go for another hat, the one guy just told him, no, don't go for my, don't do it, please. But, just give me that hat, for crying out loud. And yeah. Do you have anything to say on that part, Anchorman? Because when he's still having diarrhea problems and the fact we see it on screen, ugh.
That scene where Neil Patrick Harris in the hat, I thought that scene was so gross and funny. And that scene kind of just made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, and the fact, because again, we see the diarrhea on screen, for a split second. Well, obviously it's not actual crap. They just they used some food or whatever it is, or just something, yeah. Because, it's obvious, but still gross. But, yeah, so, again, Foy having struggles to proceed with this, but then, at one point, Albert, he basically takes off his belt and with the gun and bullets, and, he calls it quits, he withdraws, and he basically says to Foy that, you can have her, and, he turns to Louise, and Albert explaining to Louise, and so on, and makes a joke of, pardon, hairy pussy and such, but towards Foy, but yeah, it's funny. And one of the cowboys, saying, I get it. So, anyways, and then, yeah, because Albert meeting up with Edward and Ruth, and when he walked into the bar, because one cowboy said, coward, and just, yeah, yeah, technically Albert, was a coward, but no, he had his reasonings and such. But anyways, and yeah, because Albert was wondering where the heck is Anna? Because she wasn't there. She was supposed to be there, but no. And that's when, well, Clinch pops in the bar with his men and basically, warning them and telling them that, last night one of my boys saw someone kissing my wife, and, well, bringing in Anna, and, Albert realizes that, well, Anna is the wife of Clinch, because, he had no idea from the beginning that she was married to Clinch, and yeah, and of course, this does upset poor Albert, but, of course, Anna, she rightfully so, because of her just being in a terrible relationship with her husband and such, and yeah, and little did Albert know, really, so, yeah. And basically, Clinch warning the folks of the old stump, if the person who kissed his wife does not, reveal himself and so on, then he will kill the citizens one by one and so on. Even at one point he turned his gun, another cameo, which being Ryan Reynolds, aka future, well, he was already Deadpool, but not fully. He was just Wade Wilson, future Deadpool officially. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds making a silent cameo because he doesn't get any lines because Clinch asked him a question and he was just like, and then Clinch just like shooting him. Yeah. And Ryan Reynolds, he's credited as man killed by Clinch in bar. Do you have anything to say on Ryan Reynolds' cameo in this film, Anchorman?
He was also in Ted.
Yeah, that's right. He was. I actually almost forgot about that. Yeah, he appeared at that one sequence where there's a party happening, and I think in Ted's apartment, and yeah, but yeah, just overall, because like anything to say on his cameo in A Million Ways to Die in the West?
Surprisingly, I saw his cameo.
Okay, and
It was cool, but he gets shot though.
And he gets no lines. Just
yeah, no lines. Just gets shot. He also didn't have any lines in Ted.
No, he did. He did have lines in Ted.
Oh, he did. Oh.
Yeah, he did. So, I mean, I guess for you, because you hadn't seen the first Ted film in quite a while. But anyways,
it's been a bit.
Yeah, same goes.
This must be a Mandela effect.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and honestly, like I even though I haven't seen the first Ted film in quite a while, I do surprisingly remember Ryan Reynolds did have a bit of dialogue and such. And by the way, because me and Anchorman, we did our review of Ted, if you want to go check that out. Okay, so anyways, so continuing on, yeah, because again, Albert realizing the truth about Anna, but it's, again, not like she did anything intentionally, and yes, she lied to Albert, but again, not intentional. So, yeah, and that's when Anna has to warn Albert that he basically has to get out of here. But before that, yeah, because there was a moment between Clinch and Anna, because Clinch, threatening Anna, even slapped her in the face, and, wanting the truth from Anna, who it was. And because she first said it was the pastor, but he clearly knows that she's lying. And then at one point, Plugger shows up, and then he threatens Anna by pointing the gun at Plugger if she doesn't reveal the truth. And she finally does. She comes out and tells the truth to her horrible, abusive Western cowboy husband, etc., that it was a man by the name of Albert Stark whom she kissed, and yeah. And what Clinch was gonna do next, well, because he was basically just gonna, have sex with Anna. He takes off a bit of his wardrobe and such, but Anna, well, because she quietly, grabs a rock and, hey, asshole, I think that's what she says, and smacks him. And he already had his pants down, his pants pulled down a little and revealing his butt cheeks, and Anna, she can't leave him like that. At least she's kind enough not to just leave him like that. And she puts a dandelion in his butt crack. God. And thus, she rides off with Plugger tagging along with Anna. And thus, her warning Albert. But, Albert being hurt by this, and he wants nothing to do with Anna as of now. And we find out more from Anna that, well, because she got married to Clinch at 9 years old. Again, keep in mind, stuff like that happened in the past, so yeah. And Anna just apologizing and, admits that, yeah, she did lie, but again, she didn't lie intentionally to Albert, and well, because, she just, yeah, I mean, she feels bad by this, and she assures him that, she's still the same girl that he first met. And, well, still the same girl that helped him, learn how to fire with a gun and such, being well-trained with, firing a gun and a bullseye, and how she really had feelings for him, and she was starting to fall in love with Albert and whom he is. But Albert still being hurt by this, yeah, he's done. And even saying to her that, the girl of my dreams, doesn't, the girl of my dreams whom I imagined, however he says this, doesn't exist, and yeah, but But Albert, no, because she does exist. You're staring at her right there, despite the fact that you're her, yeah. And then, well, because it doesn't take too long for Clinch and his men to show up, because, well, they're going after Albert, and surprisingly, they know where he lives. And also, because this was pointed out, and it is in the theatrical release of the film, because Albert, well, he was planning to move to San Francisco this time, officially, and he even asked his father if he wanted to tag along, but he said no, and basically his father was going to bury himself right next to his late wife / Albert's mother. And because see, before watching the unrated version of A Million Ways to Die in the West, because that being in the theatrical release, where according to Albert, his dad was gonna bury next to his mother and such. Because I assumed at first, and when watching the theatrical release, that, well, probably both of them, they're probably both burying their own graves, but no, because, and it gets just like, again, why did they have to cut it? Like, there was no real reason to. I mean, could have easily been in the theatrical release, where, yeah, sadly, Albert's mother passes away, and we now know fully, and with what happens, and with his dad burying himself next to her, just... yeah. But anyways, continuing, because, yeah, Anna's still making a run for it, and the same goes for Albert, because at one point he hides in the herd of sheep, and, they're searching around the homestead of Albert and his parents, and, Albert is this close being discovered, even like when one of the sheep is peeing on him, but he still manages to, go along with this and not blow his cover, and eventually he gets on a horse of his, Curtis, I think that's the name of the horse, I'm pretty sure, and, he runs off, and, well, doesn't take too long for Clinch and his men to notice that he's making a break for it, and they get on their horses, they chase after him, and up until, well, an incoming train is approaching, Albert successfully crosses the railroad tracks, but not for Clinch and his men, because they have to wait until the train passes by. But then, Albert and his horse, they somehow, and however they did it, they jump in one of the cars, in one of the train cars, and yeah, so, and Clinch knows that he'll be back, and yeah, of course Albert will be back, but he's got to figure out what he's gonna do next. And a little bit later, because, well, everything seems to be going okay for Albert, he's safe and sound for now, but not for long, because, well, Indians are lurking by, and they knock out Albert. But back at the old stump, well, it's official, Edward and Ruth are about to have sex, and because Edward is surprised by the sight of her private parts, and because of how many times that she's had sex and such with other cowboys. Then at one point, and right before they were about to have sex, Anna shows up trying to hide because, Clinch being nearby, and, well, because one of Clinch's men, yeah, it was Lewis, breaks into, where Ruth and Edward are staying, and they were going to have sex. And this being in some of the trailers and such, please don't shoot us on sex night. And, well, Lewis, he spares them and just like, I'm sorry to intrude, and so on. But, okay, but coming back to you, Anchorman, because where I'm up to and what I've said, what do you got to say? What do you have to say this time?
I do like where Albert rides the horse to get away from the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scene, and the sheep peeing on him was funny.
Yeah. And the whole thing of...
What about the scene where, like, Liam Neeson, I don't know if you've seen this, where, like, Anna, like, knocks down Liam Neeson and, like...
Well, I did bring that up.
Yeah. I thought that was funny.
Uh-huh. And the whole thing, because, like, and anything on the sequence where Anna, is apologizing to Albert, but Albert just being too heartbroken by this, like, do you have anything to say on that sequence?
I do believe Anna did actually have feelings for Albert.
Yes.
It was hard for him to realize it until the end.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, she wasn't doing anything intentionally towards Albert.
Yeah.
Because if only Albert had known early, but of course he does later on, because what it was like for Anna and her being married to a horrible guy, which being Clinch, so the main villain of this film. Yeah. And anything to say, because when the time comes for Edward and Ruth to have sex.
It was funny.
Yeah, because you know they want to go ahead and do it because any risk that they could get killed by Clinch, yeah, and hopefully the Lord can forgive them for doing this, because, yeah. Well, and besides, because the risk of them being murdered, because it's obvious that, well, as Clinch establishes, you know, he'll murder the citizens of, you know, of the town if whom it was, which being Albert, you know, steps forward and so on. But yeah, so after that, well, and because Anna's still making a run for it, escaping from, you know, from Clinch, well, she comes face to face with Clinch and having the dandelion, and just, it was funny. And coming back to Albert, because by this point, yeah, he's been captured and he's been tied up by the Indians, and basically they were going to burn him because they, you know, we get subtitles of the Indians' language, like, you know, white assholes, and, you know, they cite Albert being one of them. But Albert is quick enough to, and, you know, good thing too that he knows their language and speaking their language, and things seem to go okay for him and the Indians help him out on what to do. They offer him something to eat, which, you know, basically like drugs and such, and when he takes it, well, basically now he enters into this world because of the drugs, and we get flashbacks of Albert when he was a kid and when he went to school, like, because, like, when he was given birth to, like, the parents still being the same, especially the father, and even, like, one moment where, about, like, mentioning of a tooth fairy, putting the tooth under the pillow, and then the next day, wake up and to see that, yeah, the tooth fairy left money, but what he got under his bed was a pile of crap, and God. And, you know, seeing Albert in school, and also, yeah, he had been friends with Edward since childhood, and seeing them graduate, and a special guest at their graduation ceremony, which being Abraham Lincoln. And Lincoln, in A Million Ways to Die in the West, being played by the late, legendary Gilbert Gottfried. Like, his role as Abraham Lincoln, just for that one scene, you know, of course, that was a cameo of Gilbert. That was pretty funny, you know. Hiya, schmucks! You know, 7 years ago, I was broke, just like you! God. Gilbert Gottfried, because... yeah, he's never disappointed, and he's so funny, and with his stage voice, and he had been in a couple of episodes, I think, yeah, of Family Guy. I do remember one specifically where he voiced a horse, and Peter Griffin recognized the horse, and by the voice, which, you know, being Gilbert Gottfried, but. Yeah, but do you have anything to say, because where I'm at so far with that drug gateway, because that Albert has, and that one moment where Lincoln shows up and it's Gilbert Gottfried?
I like the flashback sequences. I thought it was funny. The Tooth Fairy, and, like, how Albert was born.
Uh-huh.
And Gilbert Gottfried, may he rest in peace. But he was pretty funny as Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, even, like, Albert making a comment, I don't think that's the actual president. Well,
yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, maybe who knows? I mean, of course, the movie doesn't establish, but seriously, Albert may be right on that. But anyways, and so, yeah, Albert's drug adventure continues, where now because at one point he's riding on like a unicycle or something, you know, those, like, with that, like, one big wheel, and he's losing control. He tumbles some horses. Like, it's like their version of, like, you know, accidentally knocking over motorcycles. And the cowboys that come out and they chase after Albert, they're like their little people as cowboys. It's funny. You know, get that son of a bitch. And, well, Albert, he gets shot, and then he's in this, like, crazy world where he sees flying fish. He comes face to face with, well, there's Anna and Louise, and that comment that Anna made about Louise's big eyes, and we see, because, you know, digitally made them big, and Albert panicking, and then he comes face to face with Foy, who's a sheep, and, you know, a couple of sheep singing the mustache song, and then 2 sheep with long legs, and they're voiced by Patrick Stewart. Yeah, Patrick Stewart making a voice cameo in this. And because usually Patrick Stewart is in a lot of, most of the time, in a lot of Seth MacFarlane materials and projects, because most notably, he's done a lot of voice work on American Dad, well, you know, having a main voice role in American Dad, and, well, sometimes doing voice work on Family Guy, because, yeah, and it's obvious Sir Patrick Stewart being one of Seth MacFarlane's Lucky Charms, yeah. So, again, he has a cameo voice as those 2 sheep with long legs. We are the Guardians, blah, 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 and Seth as Albert approaching this door, the doorknob is a snake. He opens it, and then, and to speed things up, because coming face to face with this terrifying hawk that has snake teeth, fangs, yeah, snake fangs, and inside of the beak is Clinch, and he was trying to fire on it, but he ran out of bullets, and, well, he basically aimed for, the hawk's balls, hitting him right in the crotch, yeah. And eventually, Albert does wake up from that drug adventure he had. And to mention the deleted scenes, because, there was an alternate version of that drug adventure that Albert had, because, the best I can explain is that, and what happens in the alternate drug adventure sequence, well, he was, on a hot air balloon, and there was, a snowy, icy location that he made his way to. The ice broke, and he landed in the freezing water, and he was swimming. And actually, yeah, because this was in the final film, but it was still in the alternate take, where he opens the door, and he makes his way into this church, and basically, he's to get married to Anna. But, yeah, and that's when the hawk shows up, but, yeah. So, again, that drug adventure that Albert has, it finally comes to an end, and the Indians still helping him out, giving him guidance and such, and, well, Albert proceeds on back to Old Stump, and where Clinch, because he knows that Albert will return, and he's waiting for Albert, because right outside of the town, because he's got Anna held hostage. The citizens of Old Stump are hiding, because once again, another gun duel is going to happen, a standoff, and Albert finally returns, and, well, because it's about to happen. But we'll come back to you, Anchorman, because do you have anything to say on the drug adventure sequence, as I'm calling it, that Albert has?
The whole where he's in that grassland, it looked wild, green screen.
Yeah, and
the sheep are funny.
Yeah, and again, as I said, yeah, a sheep that's supposed to be Foy, and two of the sheep with long legs being voiced by Sir Patrick Stewart, and yeah, and okay, but coming back to the standoff, well, because they're about to pull the triggers on their guns, and almost forgot to mention this, because for Clinch, because he always goes for 1, 2. When he gets to 2, that's when he fires and kills his victims. But when they count down, it's Clinch and Albert, well, when Clinch says 1, that's when Albert fires, hitting him by the shoulder, didn't kill him and such, and Clinch laughing about it, and Albert, taking his time, and, I think, yeah, he was gonna let, Clinch kill him, I guess, but, yeah, just, Albert wanted to have a couple of last words, and even at one point, because, according to Albert, his grandparents being, Arabian or something like that, yeah, and basically a tradition of singing right before you get killed, and, because him singing, basically Tarzan Boy, singing Tarzan Boy. And then we see that Clinch, he's starting to feel a bit nauseous and so on, something's happening with him, and he slowly but surely, collapses to the ground, because there must have been something in that bullet, and sure enough, there was. And as Albert explains, and we see, and this is before he he returned to Old Stump because when he was still with the Indians helped out doing something and putting something in those bullets in Albert's gun, putting snake venom, and I think, yeah, from the Diamond Black's rattlesnake or something, putting its venom in the bullets. And of course, when Albert shot the one bullet, well, and it hit Clinch's, like, arm, you know, his shoulder and such, well, because the venom got to Clinch, and yep, and when Albert was still talking, Edward and Ruth, they interrupt him, like, you know, Albert, he's dead. Yeah, because Clinch is now dead, even when Albert was still talking and explaining and describing about the bullets and death and so on, and, you know, another way to die in the West, basically. Yeah, a million ways to die in the West. And coming back to you, Anchorman, because anything to say on, you know, Clinch's death and a smart move on Albert because, you know, putting snake venom in the bullets and so on, and Albert taking his time and when the venom hits Clinch and doing that singing and such, like, yeah, what do you have to say?
The singing was funny, and, like, the venom was, I thought it was clever that he used, like, venom, small bits of it, just to shoot him, and then it slowly kills Liam Neeson, and then he collapses.
Yep.
And I like the line where they say, he's dead, as he's still trying to explain.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yep, that's the end of Clinch. He's done for. And, well, all ends well, and Clinch's men are taken care of. Like, yeah, Anna did punch some of them, but they're at gunpoint, they're arrested, and, yep, everything's okay between Anna and Albert, but for Louise, she steps in and she's considering, you know, being in a relationship with Albert again. But Albert, he basically repays basically gives Louise the same taste of, like, gives her the taste of her own medicine. He gives her the taste of her own medicine to her and such, like how she did to him. So yeah, and to put it this, you know, Albert doing the same thing that she did to him when breaking up and such. Because yeah, Albert, rightfully so, he's officially done with Louise, because especially after what she did to him. And well, he's found the right girl for him, and that of course being Anna. And yep, because Anna and Albert, they living happily ever after, and, you know, Anna pointing out to Albert that, you know, because of what Albert did, he'll pretty much, you know, be receiving reward money, and what is he gonna do? What is he gonna do with that reward money? Well, basically, go full time with, like, sheep farming business, and we see a whole herd of sheep, and yep, because for both Albert and Anna, they're full-time in the sheep farming business, and it all ends well for our two main characters, and, you know, the end, and actually, because there was an alternate ending to this, because, you know, alternate opening and alternate ending to this film, because the alternate opening, because it had to do something with, you know, the standoff between Albert and that one cowboy, but the alternate ending, basically, for one last time, we see Louise still with Foy, and they've moved to Mexico. And Foy, because the reason being that they've moved to Mexico, because he can't see himself back at Old Stump because, you know, he made a fool of himself. Well, it's thanks to Anna, because she's the one that made Foy being made a fool of himself and so on. And, you know, Louise is not happy, of course, and, you know, well, you know, you brought this to yourself, Louise, and look who you're with now. And a couple of Mexican guys commenting, because, you know, Foy and Louise moving in, and just, it's pretty funny with the subtitles. But yeah, so that's basically what happened to Louise and Foy. So yeah. And actually, and right before the movie ends, and after the end shows, one last cameo, and back at the fair, because, well, we get a uncredited cameo of Jamie Foxx as Django, from Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained. Basically, he shoots the guy, hurry, hurry, step right up and take your shot. And yeah, Django, he takes a shot shooting that guy. Yeah, the dialogue that Jamie Foxx has as Django, pretty funny. And actually, because there is an end credit scene, and we cut back to Django, and then he walks off. Okay, but coming back to you, Anchorman, because where I'm up to and what I've said from the alternate ending and the ending to it for Albert and Anna and the cameo of Jamie Foxx as Django, yeah, because what do you have to say this time?
I thought the Jamie Foxx cameo was cool. I like that reference to Django Unchained. I've only seen a little bit of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool seeing him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I thought the ending was nice.
Yeah, for Albert and Anna, yeah.
Yeah, they become rich at the end or something.
Mm-hmm. And going full-time with the sheep farming business. Yep. And did you even see, like, the deleted scenes and the alternate opening and ending to the film?
I might have when I watched the unrated version.
Okay. Like, you do or do not have anything to say? Because what happens with Louise and Foy? Because, they moved to Mexico.
Yeah, it doesn't go well for them.
No, it doesn't. I mean, yeah, and especially for Louise, because again, she brought this to herself, and yeah, well deserved.
Karma.
What's that?
Was it like karma?
I guess you could say, yeah. But anyways, so yeah, that was a great way to end the film, yeah, because for Albert and Anna, and the funny ending, and poor ending for poor Foy and Louise, and of course the cameo of Jamie Foxx as Django, and yeah, and the same goes for me technically, because when I've seen a little bit of Django, but anyways, so yeah, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yeah, because, and like you said, Anchorman, an underrated comedy western, and this coming from Seth MacFarlane, and yeah, because I think, yeah, because if from what I've seen, yeah, I think it has grown a cult following, this film. The story, I think, is pretty good, funny, and what this comedy western, I should say, what it delivers, and how it rightfully so captures, like, what pretty much happened in reality, because what the Wild West was like, and, the many ways to die and such. The characters were pretty good, the funny moments, of course, and so, yeah, some pretty good emotional moments as well. And even, like, anything that Seth MacFarlane does, because most of the time, what he does is funny. Usually there can be some emotional stuff, like, from, like, what happens in, like, say, Family Guy, American Dad, and especially the Ted movies, yeah. And the music and score in A Million Ways to Die in the West, really good. The cameos, things that you did not see coming, just, yeah, overall, A Million Ways to Die in the West is a pretty good, underrated, and unappreciated comedy western from good old Seth MacFarlane. And what say you? Your final thoughts and results on the film?
I think it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated.
Yep.
And yeah, it's very funny.
Uh-huh. And you got it.
And it's cool to see a Wild West movie.
Yeah, and do you have anything else to say on it?
Yeah, I like how they brought in some of the Ted cast, like I said earlier.
Uh-huh.
And, I forgot to mention this, but, like,
uh-huh.
I think Edward's character, he gets a reference of Donnie in this movie, where he's drinking his drink during the dance sequence.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, it's a reference to Donnie.
Uh-huh.
From Ted.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, and as it was also mentioned, because yeah, some of the cast members that were in A Million Ways to Die in the West, most notably Amanda Seyfried and Liam Neeson, they would find themselves, well, in Ted 2 a year later. And no, because I would have known that he would have appeared in this. It's a bit of a shame because Patrick Warburton didn't make an appearance in this, and even if Seth MacFarlane had him in mind making an appearance, like what do you think on that?
I feel like he'd be like I don't know, like one of the sheriffs.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Like that'd be kind of perfect for Patrick Warburton if he had made an appearance in this. Yeah, he could have been one of the sheriffs, like maybe one of the top guys of Old Stump or something. But again, is Seth MacFarlane, if he would have considered Patrick Warburton making a cameo in this, because I think, yeah, Patrick Warburton is another one of Seth MacFarlane's lucky charms. Also, Mike Henry, if I'm like, the original voice of Cleveland Brown, because he's worked with Seth MacFarlane numerous times, even made an appearance, a couple of appearances on The Orville. It would have been nice if he made a cameo too, because, well, the voice of Lois Griffin made a cameo in this, and we almost forgot to mention this, and I'm glad I remember this, because the Indian language that is spoken by the Indians and Albert, there's one moment where Albert says in the Indian language, Mila Kunis. Do you have anything to say on that?
That was funny.
Yeah, and it's just like how in the third and final Family Guy Star Wars special, it's a trap in Jabba's language saying Mila Kunis. It does kind of Mila Kunis's name does kind of sound something like it would be in a in people's languages. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, like in Hutt language and in Indian language, Mila Kunis. That's so funny. And there's no doubt about it that Mila Kunis, she takes that pretty well, the humor and such on her name, and yeah. So anyways, so again, yeah, for both me and Anchorman, we enjoy A Million Ways to Die in the West, and how we rate A Million Ways to Die in the West, well, we'll start with you. How do you rate it?
I think I'd give it like a 7.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
7 out of 10, I guess you could say, for you?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds about right. And for me, you know what? I guess I'm on the same level as you, Anchorman. For me, I too am giving A Million Ways to Die in the West. 7 out of 10 stars. Yes, for both me and Anchorman, we give A Million Ways to Die in the West 7 out of 10 stars. And what about you guys? What do you think of A Million Ways to Die in the West itself? Do you enjoy this comedy western by Seth MacFarlane? And for those of you who admire and are fans of Seth MacFarlane, is this one of your favorite movies that Seth MacFarlane has done? I mean, pretty much most of you enjoy the Ted movies, but if you enjoy this as well, what was your favorite moments in the movie itself? The funny moments and with the characters, your favorite cameos, things that you did not see coming, but, you had a good laugh at. But overall, what do you think of A Million Ways to Die in the West itself, and what me and Anchorman have had to say about it, our review, and what did you think of our review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed our review of A Million Ways to Die in the West. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and we'll see you guys in the next video /review. And Anchorman, thank you for joining me for this. Yeah, because, reviewing another Seth MacFarlane material, and, this being A Million Ways to Die in the West.
You're welcome, and I'm glad I could hop on.
Yep, anytime, absolutely. And hey, especially anything that has to do with coming straight from Seth MacFarlane himself. Yeah, definitely. The Western Movie Week is still continuing, but we're down to one more Western film for me to review, and to best describe it, well, it basically has Yellowstone in the title. I'm sure you guys are probably wondering, because there's numerous of Yellowstone material, plenty of Yellowstone materials, but this one, maybe some of you probably did not see this coming, of what it is that I'm reviewing that has the name Yellowstone to it. Overall, stay tuned for that later tonight. And and any last words, Anchorman? Say goodbye.
Farewell.
Yep, he says that. And for me, again, thank you for watching. take care, happy anniversary to A Million Ways to Die in the West, and peace out, partners.